Good evening, and welcome to another edition of African Americans Ain't Africans, the Think Show that proves without a shadow of a doubt that the so called African American, Negro, Black person didn't come to America on the bottom of a ship. I'm your host, the Indigenous One. The other day, I had a young lady came on the program we were having last week, and she had a question for the sister who was giving her presentation. They gelled like peanut butter and jelly. But the sisters were saying some things that I thought that my audience might be interested in. And as you guys all know, I just try to bring you stuff that you can use with all this bullshit that's going on in real life. You got to get some reality. So we provide a place where you can get that, not a whole bunch of dumb stuff. This sister said something. So I got in touch with the sister and we talked. And she said something that made an awful lot of sense. She said, when you speak, you spew atoms from your mouth. And when you spew atoms from your mouth, these are the things that mama told you. So I'm going to introduce this sister right now to let her come on and talk about what she's talking about. And I think you guys will all find this very handy. Sister Soul, how you doing?
I'm doing great, brother. Thanks so much for having me. How are you?
I'm doing well. How did you get into the indigenous community?
I have a radio platform I've had for a few years, and my kids have been telling me, "Oh, mom, you need to do YouTube." So I said, "Well, maybe I can incorporate YouTube into my show." So I started coming around, just looking at different content and seeing what was interesting or insightful information or things, just like you say. I look for things that people can grow with, informative things that you can use and pass on. And then I ran across the what would be the Aboriginal community. And I remember my grandmother always saying, "Oh, I'm Indian. We're Indian." You hear that when you're younger. A lot of kids would say that. And you wouldn't think much of it. You just say, "Oh, okay, you got Indian in your family or something." They'll say. So coming into the community of the Aboriginal community that I was aware of, they were speaking about being indigenous basically to the lands. And, a lot of this comes from misplacing us, trying to say we're from Africa, which I always knew that. My grandmother, I was questioning it when the Root movies came out. That was the first time I'd heard anything about being from Africa. And I'm looking like, Africa? When did we come from Africa? And back then they used to put those horrendous movies up with the kids with the bellies and the flies. So it was kind of insulting. I'm looking like, wait a minute, is this what we came from? My grandmother was like, don't listen to that. No, that's nothing where we came from. We are indigenous. We have been here. I am Indian, and that was that. So I never heard much more about it since I was a child. So coming into that, it gave me the awareness of a lot of different things that I also teach about. It actually coincided because I teach about the spells and how we're caught up in indoctrination and religion and all these things that twist us up to take us away or misplace us from the lands and things. So coming into the community just brought me more into a familiarity of a lot of things that actually coincide when it comes to like spiritual nature, ancient history and documents. So I've come into a lot of studies recently just by coming into this particular community.
Since you've been in the community for a minute, how has that made you look at yourself or your community different?
It makes me have a little more pride in knowing that this isn't just, oh, my grandmother said this, or, oh, this actually means something. We need to be more aware. I was always aware of, the lies, the indoctrination, things of that nature, but I didn't tie into why there was so much indoctrination and lies. And what I've come to discover a lot of times, the indoctrination and lies are to put the spell on a person's mind, because when a person is trapped in their mind, then everything else is going to fall into place, because that's the strongest entity that works against us. So when doing that, they have used these things to conspire or configure a entire playbook or a story of things that make no sense, a story of things that have brought us to a spell binding in our mind, and there's actually the wave formatting of all of this information that they implant onto us. When it comes to the indoctrination, when it comes to all of these different things, these things actually transform our brain and our mind and our actual reality, bringing forth or manifesting something that isn't actually true, just based off of what we see, what we hear, what we taste, what we smell, the indoctrination of the stories that we hear over time with this history, the indoctrination of the religious aspect, where a person is taken away from the actual spiritual nature of nature and being connected to the soil, to the earth, to the universe, to the true source, which they call a God. They're trapped into this physical thing. They look at this physical God. Oh, I gotta, this God up here. It's something that's always outside of yourself. You don't get to see the real reality. There's this false ascension of all these things that they've used to put a formatted theory in our minds, per se, to make us believe that this is the actual reality when there's a total other space that we should be in.
If you want to listen to Sister Soul, she has a radio program Sundays and Wednesdays, Central Time, 6 o'clock Central Time. She's on the main radio, or you can check her out at sistersoul.com. So check out this sister. If you have a young daughter, teenage daughter, or something, this may be a young lady you may want her to just talk to for a few minutes. She'll give her some stuff that's, some food for her to grow on. Earlier today, Sister Soul, you told me when you spew atoms from your mouth, blank happens. I'm gonna let you explain that for a minute. But
Yes.
when you said that, when you spew atoms from your mouth, it's something like your grandmother saying, "Tell the truth, shame the devil," something like that. What you're saying
Yes.
actually creates a reality or something. Could you explain what you meant by that?
Definitely, yes, brother. What it is just what you said exactly. What our grandmother used to tell us. We used to hear these different sayings and things, but a lot of times not having an understanding of what they meant. We, as kids, we didn't really get a lot of these things. But when you said that, I didn't even think of that. But you're right. That is the same thing. When we're speaking, right? As you know, as you're talking, right, you can feel the vibration coming from the pit of your belly. Literally, you have to have something to send out the voice to even give the pressure. That pressure is actually the atomic pressure that's coming from your body. So when you're speaking, you're putting or you're expelling your breath, which is your life, out of your body. The breath is the life. So when you're speaking, even when people are talking too much for no reason, you're literally wasting life. You're letting go of breath, because breath is life. So when a person is spewing the atoms from their belly, which is, I like to say it that way for a reason, you have to think. You're actually taking from inside of yourself, whatever it is you're feeling, you're thinking, the emotions you're going through, and you're taking these things and rising it up through your body, through your chakras, everything that is a part of you in all these different areas of emotion, and you're spewing them out of your mouth. They literally come out of your mouth. When you're spinning, you put your hand I'm saying you're spinning, I'm sorry. When you're talking and you're putting your hand like in front of your mouth, you can feel the pressure. This is literal atoms coming out of your mouth. So this is what happens when it comes to manifesting. And this is how we create certain things into our life, whether it be something negative or whether it be something positive. When you're manifesting things, when we're spewing these atoms, the way that atoms work, they actually self-replicate. They just start to duplicate, and they're formulating themselves. This is something they do based off of the protons, the neutrons, and electrons. So because they're moving around each other, they will actually just start to duplicate. So as they're doing that, you are forming the reality that you have put out. So if you're saying something negative, there have been testings on these things where they've taken like rice and putting it in 2 jars. They say nasty words to this rice over here, and then they're speaking beautiful words to the rice over here. They do the same thing with like plants and certain things, right? You should see how disgusting it looks to the things that they just spoken words to. The same exact ingredients, nothing was different. They're in the same area. They just spoke different words. And it actually shows the power of the words. You guys can actually look this up. Just look up. I'm not sure exactly what it'd be called, but look up the rice. Rice. with speaking something. You could type something into Google or YouTube rather. And when you do these things, what happens is the atoms they either have a negative effect or they have a positive effect. And like you said, our grandmother used to say, "Tell the truth, shame the devil." When you're telling the truth, you're gonna cause that negativity to go away. That's what that shame the devil, what they meant when they said that. When you're telling the truth, you're bringing out the fact or the truth of the matter, and matter is atoms. You're bringing out the fact or the truth of the matter. So when you bring the matter forefront, then whatever that is there that is not true, that positive energy is actually going to overpower that. That's immediate because that's just the reaction that it has. So now you're overpowering that thing with something positive, and this is what the shame, tell the truth and shame the devil thing the grandmother was telling you, because you have to speak the positive in order to expel the negative. The same thing into your life. We can allow people to bring things into our life and we don't even intend to. Speaking to a family member or a particular friend or someone that you're around at your job that, you're just friendly with them and you listen to them, even though you want to hear their stories because they coming in stressed, these type of things. All this stuff is negative energy. You don't have to accept that. You can be friendly with a person. Oh, I really don't got time to hear it right now. Don't allow people to force negative energy on you, because this is actually a weight that you put on your body. And a lot of times you get weighed down by these things, and it's like, oh, I'm feeling so heavy laden. I don't know why I'm so stressed out and I'm tired. You don't even realize the amount of things you've taken on just by the atoms that have been put on you by someone else. So we have to be very careful when it comes to what comes out of our mouth, because we actually formulate and materialize these things. This is what the structure does. It starts to manifest whatever it is that you want. You're going to manifest that thing. Okay, I want to do something positive. I want to do that. When you're speaking that thing, you're putting it into the atmosphere because it's an atom. And when you're putting it into the atmosphere is going to absorb that energy and it's going to start to formulate what you have created. Because why? We are creators. We are the inventors. Our imagination and everything that we think of has the power, especially when it's something that we feel with our heart. When you combine the thought process in the mind and the heart, something that you feel, and those two things combined, that's a very powerful energy. So when you put that out or you present that as to what you want to formulate, it has no choice but to proceed into what you want it to be. And that includes the same things with negative things. That's why you have to be, very careful with that as well.
You know what I thought about when you said that? When you said that earlier today, do you know what I thought about?
Yes. What did you think, brother?
I just focused in on two words that you said, and you
Hmm.
said spew atoms.
Hmm.
And what I know about an atomic bomb, I just kept seeing all these bombs go off every time we speak.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like you said spewing atoms, but atoms to me connected to the picture of one of those bombs going off.
Hmm.
That's the picture that I got when you said spew atoms. So it can be said that how we speak to each other, we're hurling atom bombs at each other.
Definitely, because that is exactly what we're doing. Yes, yes, yes. So you're hurling, you're spewing it out. That's why I like to use that word. You're spewing it out. That means you're just, yeah, you're kind of like putting it with a force. That's why I say spewing it out. You're forcefully doing it. So if you're badgering someone with your words or you're saying these negative, that's like you're beating them up. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
like you're saying, brother. You are absolutely correct.
Wow. So how would you say that we should communicate with each other?
With loving, kind words. We need to always speak to each other that way. I mean, even when you're upset or angry, I get caught up sometimes myself. I know these things, and it's very easy to get caught up in a situation sometimes if your emotions take over. Because a lot of times when your emotions take over, it's kind of hard to control them because now they're just running. Because everything that's in you is just it's at a fast speed now because you're hyping yourself up. So it's kind of hard to calm yourself down. So I think the best thing would be to be able to create that balance to where you're able to maintain yourself or hold yourself to a balance of not being upset. When you see you're getting emotionally upset or someone's drawing your attention somewhere and you're not feeling comfortable, you're starting to feel that unease. Take yourself out the situation. It's best not to stay there and be abused by the words or the even the demeaning nature of a person, and remove yourself versus taking that on. If you remove yourself from the situation, you don't have to worry about taking on that dead weight. You could just elevate yourself, go to another state, and you're done with it. So I think that would be the best thing. Just remove yourself from that particular situation.
Remove yourself from the particular position. So what if that person is the problem? Because a lot of times we like to call something a problem, but that's not the problem. We're the problem.
Mm.
So
And that can happen.
yeah, I mean, no, it happens a lot.
Yes.
How would you communicate that to a person? Here's an example. Let me just give you an example.
Yes.
I'm seeing a young lady now that her boyfriend beats her ass every chance he get. He's a little hoe, but beats her up. And I'm like, that's on you. You go get the ass whooping. And she doesn't, and she's not getting what I'm saying. I'm like, babe, that ain't gotta be you.
Right.
I don't have to be you. But obviously you want it. So I'm having a time getting that part over to her. Maybe I'm not saying it right or something. How would I explain that? How will I explain that situation better to her?
As far as I don't, just to verify that I understand the question, as far as if she should be staying in the situation or as far as her trying to get out of it.
No. There's no doubt because she's already said it. She knows it's wrong, but she keeps going back for that Ike. How do I put across to her? Because I'm a guy.
Okay.
Her moms don't care. So how do I get that? Have her look at herself like, damn, you're right. And you can just walk away from something like that. Because I don't know too many sisters would take that.
Right. A lot of times, brother, unfortunately, those type of situations are the lack of confidence and the self-esteem in the woman. She may even present herself like, oh, I got all the confidence in the world, but something inside her is not that confident. So go ahead.
You're absolutely right. That's her.
Okay, so yeah, that's the thing. So maybe what I would suggest, brother, I'm gonna be honest, try a lot of encouragement, right? Try a lot of saying like, saying, listen, you are too beautiful for this. You're too good of a person for this. Even if you're badgering her, she has to hear that. She doesn't feel that for some reason. She don't think she's worthy. And you got to tell her, look, sis, you're valuable. You are valuable to someone that is going to love you the way you deserve. The same way you give him love, you can feel that same love and receive it, not just be giving it away. You giving so much of yourself to him that you're not able to receive anything or maintain enough for yourself. And this is why you're going through this. You have to just encourage her because when they're in those situations, brother, unfortunately, a lot of times they just have to get to the total breaking point unless something clicks in them. And a lot of times the positivity can't do that. But like you said, her mama don't care, this, and that. And that's why, unfortunately. If she had a mom or somebody around that really cared and kept enforcing to her, listen, we love you. Not so much bothering him. Oh, he's the worst thing. Get away from him. He ain't nothing. That don't matter because they already know that. What they have to do is build the confidence in the person. So the person has the strength to say, hold on now. I've been slacking. Wait a minute. I didn't realize that I was all this. I'm better than this. I don't deserve this. Wait a minute. They've been telling me that, but now I see it. Then that point will come.
Well, I hope so because I might have to just have her come see you because I'm like, because I'm way at the other end of a spectrum. If a person doesn't like me, why even be around me? You do your thing over there. I mean, to me, it's simple. But we did something that you just said, and because I wanted to show her, I just didn't want to tell her things. I wanted to show you can actually see it. So I said, look, let's go to breakfast or lunch one day, and I just want you to pay attention to how the guys look at me, because I'm with you. She's one of those girls that dresses provocative, right? One brother came up and gave me some dap. He was like, damn, nigga. And he was, and I was telling her, how don't you have confidence and you see That's how other people see you. So I just wanted to show her that it's not you're not the problem. Well, you're the problem. They're getting those ikes, but I just wanted her to see a certain way. I just want to know how to communicate things. I think sometimes females say things that other females can pick up on easier than if a male says it.
Definitely, definitely. I'm definitely open to it, brother. You can put her in touch with me because I would probably have a different type of conversation
Right.
than just general stuff, with me and her speaking and getting more into her. To be honest, when having a conversation is easier to read a person and talk a little more to them to touch into their spirit or their soul so you can speak to that part of them because you have to connect with a person to be able to have them really hear you when it comes to those type of things, especially when it comes to stuff they emotionally tied to, especially a person that they feel like they dependent on this person, all these type of things. So yeah, it's a lot when it comes to that.
Yeah, because I think since since the first voice they hear is of a female, normally their mom, we all remember that.
The comfort, yes.
Just hear the first sound. So the first sound you ever hear is normally a woman's voice.
Yep.
If she's crying, if whatever, you hear that. So if that's the first sound you ever heard, in this matrix that we're in, you're always going to be connected to it. So
That is so true.
So I think you should talk to her. And speaking of that, how should we all be communicating with each other? And I know loving and all that, that's, we don't want to do that. But is there a certain way that we should be speaking to each other? Because sometimes I get the feeling that we speak to each other how other people speak to each other, which means we learned how to speak to people from them.
Correct. That is true.
And I think a lot of that is part of the problem. Can you speak on that?
Definitely, definitely. And it's with you saying that, I'm going to use myself as an example. I'm very much on being positive, trying to stay positive. Recently, I had a few things going on a little negatively, and I got a little upset and this, and that. At first, I was like upset. I'm like, oh, this person, this or whatever, And then I had to realize, like, wait a minute, that things happen. We have to realize that a lot of times people, right, they don't even realize what they're doing themselves, brother, right? I'm going to say it like this. You'll have a situation, let's say a so-called enemy or a person doesn't like you or they're always being nasty to you or negative or this, and that, whatever the case may be. It's something that may come against you sometimes, and it has nothing to do with the person nor the situation a lot of times. I think a lot of times when speaking to people, when it's in a general sense, we have to remember that we're only speaking what we feel, the way that we see, and our own insight, because we can only see and feel what we feel and what we see. The other person is going to also see and feel and what they see. They're going to go and speak on a conversation based off of what they learned, what they've studied, the information they've retrieved over their entire life, and they're going to do the same thing that you do. You're coming all from the same place. We may not be saying the same things, but we're coming from the same place, a place of knowing what I know, what I've learned, what I've studied, what I've heard. This is all that I can speak on. So when a person is speaking or a person is speaking to you or you're in conversation with them, keep in mind at all times that, wait a minute, they're only speaking their truth. It doesn't mean that it's against me. It doesn't mean that they're saying what I'm saying is wrong. It doesn't necessarily mean that whatever is going on with them, I have to take that on and be offended by it because maybe they're having a moment. Sometimes people are going through things and they may snap on you or say something. It's like, oh, you get offended. Maybe they're having a moment. Let's be a little understanding and forgiving. We don't know what this person's day was like, unless they're just totally bombardedly going off or cursing you out, being totally disrespectful. Maybe bypass it for a second, and if you do address the person,
but you're going to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Give them the benefit of the doubt.
Got you.
Generally, it's best to give them the benefit of the doubt at first. Give them a chance. Say, hey, they may even catch themselves like, oh, I just snapped on you a minute ago. I really did. I was thinking about something else, or I done had a hard day. And when you said that, I was just a little irritated about something else. People will do that sometimes, actually, because they'll realize to themselves when you didn't snap on them, it gives them a time to think. When you snap on a person because they made their first mistake, they're automatically defensive. And it's like, wait a minute, I didn't this, I didn't that, or they're gonna defend themselves to the greatest ability, right? When you give them a moment to think, now they can think and like, oh, I kind of stepped outside myself. Oh, wait a minute, I got upset. I shouldn't have got upset. I thought wrong. I heard wrong. Whatever the case may be. Give the person the benefit of the doubt. Give them the time. Give them enough respect to allow them to recognize their own mistake before you're directing something to them. Because when you point and single people out, they're going to get even more upset. That's definitely a notability. So we got to be more conscious of that. I've tried to do that a lot of times. Sometimes it doesn't work with people. You can ignore them. You can, try to bypass it. They'll still be rude. Then you just remove yourself from that situation if you can. So you just have to learn to be more acknowledgeable that people are going to make mistakes. People have different ideologies than you. People have different theories than you. People have learned different things. They have a different viewpoint because they have their own mind. They have their own imagination. Everything that they've been through is going to implant on their brain or write brain mapped information onto their brain of what they have learned and taken. So they cannot be changed or swayed. You cannot force a person to understand where you're coming from to get it. You have to sit there and give them time for them to have the understanding on their own, just like you may not understand everything with them. It's a respect of the person. It's so simple. Let's just respect each other. Let's have a little patience with each other, and let's listen more and talk less. This is why we have two ears and one mouth. We need to make time to listen more than we're speaking. The more that you're speaking, like I said, you're literally just giving your life away. Why? That just hold that breath. Air is precious. It's like really precious. So why waste it? Arguing with a person, screaming, yelling, nobody care anything you're saying. You're just wasting words, spewing hateful words that are doing nothing for the situation, nothing to benefit you, and it's not going to create anything else but more chaos and friction and harm. So it's just best to be respectable to the next person.
Yida, ego, spirit, sky, melanated, created, trick. You as a guy can't convey that to her. I get it. She has an internal image about herself which requires deeper work she must do. Do you see that?
Yes, yes.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I mean, so that's what I'm saying. Same vibe there. So like I was saying earlier, it's like what you're saying about communication is 100%. But sometimes I feel that though we spewing atoms from our mouth and saying stuff, it may not be coming at a negative or mean way. It could be giving information. It could be telling a person something that is completely untrue, and
Yes.
which will confuse that person in a knot. So you can look at it from different ways like that, can't you? Not just
Yes.
being hurtful, but in other ways too.
The same way that just what you said, right, is the same way the indoctrination has come over us, right? They have created stories and created a history based off of a reality that they wanted to formulate in the future. So they took certain books, they made things, they excavated lands, rebuilt over places to make it like they made this and created this. All these different things these nuts have done in certain places just to give a perception or a view of something. So this is something we have to be very careful of, because you can get a false perception of something just on the way that you're seeing something.
Okay. So, this is the problem I'm having. I live I live in a city, one of those civil rights cities. The,
Mm.
the cities where the inhabitants, the Negro inhabitants said, listen, we're going to go ahead and integrate and leave what we already built alone. I live in one of those type towns.
Mm.
Do you have any information or any way where you can sit these cats down and have them see the same thing, what's going on or what's happening in all this city? Because this city is being gentrified right in front of our places. And
Mm.
check this out. This is the cold part. We're helping the gentrification go smoothly.
Oh, wow.
Like being in
So,
that saying, "Well, I don't know. I don't want to know nothing. Just Jesus is gonna come help me and all that stuff that don't
mm,
work."
It doesn't.
It did.
You have to stand up for your rights. You have to make the action, which is moving yourself, which is a part of matter. We are made out of atoms and matter. So you have to take action. You have to do something in order for something to move in a way or manifest that reality that you want to create. Exactly what we're talking about, brother. They'll sit around. And they have people indoctrinated with this religion and stuff. So they're sitting there praying, "Ooh, Lord help us." They sitting there not doing nothing. They just waiting and just I'm just gonna sit here and not lift a finger and wait for God to come out the sky, come down here and handle this for me when I'm sitting right here and I can do it myself. It makes no sense. Even if that was all true, I think that's maybe being a little abusive to God. When we can handle some things ourselves, why ask God to do all these things for billions of people then if maybe some things we can handle ourselves? Let's give him a break sometime then. You know what I'm saying? None of that makes sense.
Okay, so would you? So how would you deal with those people? How would you communicate in those people without wanting to slap the shit out of them? Because I know they see this, but they
Yes.
but they want to keep holding on to a narrative that hasn't helped their grandchildren, hasn't helped their children, hasn't helped them, their mother, their grandmother, their great grandmother. What would you say is the best way? This is for me for personal use.
Okay. Yes.
How would you say you communicate with those people? Because they see everything that's going on, and I try to give examples, so because I know they see it. So we're in the middle of this COVID, and everybody in my family has rushed to get the shot, right?
Mm.
And many of them that did it, they were part of the Tuskegee experiment.
Oh my gosh.
So you see what I'm saying? What do you say to these cats? How do you communicate with these people? Because seriously,
You know what, brother? I'm gonna be honest. The only thing you could do is bombard them with the truth. You have to let them know everything that is the truth. Listen, we are under a system. We are literally being played like we're in a playbook. We are literally pawns in a book. They're putting us where they want, using us for their convenience. We are the currency. We are the true energy to this entire universe. Nothing could run off of us. So they're using us, manipulating us so they can use and surplus our energy, our income, our mind state, our thoughts. Have you keep spending? Have you doing this? Have you running the church and paying at these places, surplusing your energy at these churches where they have a lot of these things and they're doing these praise and worship services, raising up all this energy, and you don't even know who you're raising this energy to. The people don't even realize that they have them tricked, and they don't look into themselves to say, listen, I have the power. It tells you right in the Bible certain things about yourself that connect you to what is the so-called spirit. The Bible even being contorted, you have to show them and let them know, hey, back in like the 1700s, do you know that there was not even a New Testament around? They never even had a New Testament till like the late 1600s. It was created. Oh, there was a Council of Nicaea. The Council of Nicaea actually created this. They actually had writers, Shakespearean writers, that actually wrote this information to write these books so people would have this story. This is something that has been used against us because they took the information from our ancestors. They decided to write it in books because they wanted to keep the information because it was so treasurable. It was very important information. So what they did was manipulate the information. There's facts on all these things. We have to really, we need to like have books and things out really exploding on the information so people can just really get a pamphlet or something. Because I hear what you're saying, brother. And it's so hard, especially when a person's been indoctrinated for 50, 60, 70 years. Man, that's a lot of brain writing on them. Their mind is so warped to all they know is everything that they believe, everything they see on the news, they believe, they watch the TV, they believe everything they see on there, everything somebody tell them about, you gonna die if this happens, you gonna this, they scare them to death, they so scared, they don't know what to do because they always is living in fear every day because this is going on and they can't even think half the time, especially the elderly people. So I mean, it's sad. It's really sad, but we are in a time in a situation where the mind is manipulated the most. They're literally building an entire future on our minds with this metaverse, meta world, all this crap.
So
They're using our mind as an entire tool against us, like they use everything against us to have us contorted into the wrong thinking.
So you're basically saying what David Corey is saying, and David Corey is saying we're under a German experiment. Most of us are already brain dead, zombies walking.
Yes.
Do you see that?
Oh, definitely, definitely, brother. Yes. And listen, and I'm gonna tell you some more. Fact, matter of fact, I know certain things you say. I don't want to mess your thing up, but when it comes to that jab, right?
Uh huh.
The people that get that right, they literally are walking zombies at this point. A lot of them don't even realize that the things that are inside of that particular thing, right? When it goes inside of the body, it starts to mutate it, as we were talking about the atoms and how the atoms actually self-replicate, so on and so forth. When it comes to the protons, neutrons, and electrons, they're roaming around each other, doing what they need to do to build the nucleus, and all this stuff is making and formulating this atom. So when it comes to those particles that are put in you, right? What they're doing is they're taking over some of those atoms. So where you have your organic atoms, now they're being replaced with inorganic atoms. So now it's formulating you or changing you. What people don't know is when they get that jab thing, right? Now they actually have a patent on your body. They have a patent on people. There's a patent. I don't know where it's written at right now. I'm sorry, brother. I didn't know we were going to talk about this, but there's literally a patent. People can look it up. There's a patent on people that have that inside them, where their body is patented for some kind of I guess research and development type of thing, like you're saying. And this is why they had, if you can remember, about a year or so ago, they kept saying, "Oh, zombie apocalypse" or something. People looking like, what are they talking about? The possible zombie apocalypse. They had people that were deceased, and in their brain they found living cells that were still living. This is why they started talking about the zombie thing, letting people know, hey, we don't know what's gonna happen, because they're doing all these experiments with these chemicals and playing with people's lives and transhumaning people. They're literally transhumaning people.
So okay. So what you just said, has been going on for a while now. It's
Yes.
well known. Would you agree?
Oh, yes, yes. This has been going on for a long time, brother. It's been plotted and planned.
Yes, they're patent. They want to own you, and what they inject inside of you changes your DNA where they can own you. That's old news, right?
Yep.
Why do you think most of us still go for this bullshit when
Mm.
this information is out?
Brother, it might sound crazy, right? I swear this is crazy, because I had this conversation with somebody else earlier. Because, brother, they are so brainwashed, because they are so indoctrinated. They cannot cleanse themselves. Okay, let me get into it. Hold on, hold on. This might get a little, hold on. Okay, when it comes to the Christ, right? The Christos or the Christos. You ever heard of that? And when it comes to the Christos or the Christos, that is actually one of the elements inside of us, that is that plasma energy that's in our blood. You know how they'll donate blood, and they're looking for plasma and stuff. You
Right.
see all these places now talking about plasma centers. Why y'all got all these plasma centers? People don't even wonder about stuff like that. They just put stuff up and they look like, oh, a plasma center. They're like in every neighborhood almost. But either way, when it comes to the plasma is literally light energy. The plasma is photonic light energy. So what happens is, when a person becomes enlightened, right? Let's say our conversation tonight, brother, anyone that may be listening, right, and say anything that I'm talking about. A lot of people probably know what I'm speaking about. Some people may not know what I'm speaking about. So to someone that this is new information, right, there comes an enlightenment to them, because it's like, oh man, I heard this sister say such and such and such, and man, it made me think about this, and then I went and studied it, and now I see what it really was, and I got deep into it, and I even found out this. There is the enlightenment process, right? So when it comes to the enlightenment, what happens is the cells start to generate a heat, a volume of energy, because of the melanin. People don't think the melanin, ether, whatever you want to call it, they have all these names. I'm just using that as a reference. So we're not going to literally say melanin, but I'm just using that. The
We're gonna
darkness,
come. We're gonna come back to melanin, because I've had some interesting conversations
okay.
past week on the melanin. So let's come back to that.
Definitely. Okay. So when it comes to it, we'll say the ether, which is that photon or plasma energy, right? What happens is when our cells get charged, there's a voltage when it comes to the melanocyte, the melanin that is in your skin. Each cell, when it heats up to a certain energy, right? It heats up to about 15 volts of energy. What happens is the energy it starts to oscillate. I'm sorry, it starts to oscillate your blood, the plasma that's in your blood because of the heat. Once it heats up, the plasma starts to like kind of like vibrate, and it gives an oscillation to the blood, right? When you get this particular oscillation to the blood, it sends up energy through your body. You know how you hear people talk about the Taurus field, or they'll say like a person's aura, things of that nature, right? These things are what is considered that Christos or the Christos spirit. When a person's blood starts to oscillate, that plasma actually sends a heat that generates. Once it's running through your blood, it goes through your heart, it goes up, it goes through your brain. There is a crystal. We have crystals in our brain, we have crystals in our lungs as well, brother. So when it starts to oscillate, the crystals that are in your brain, if you heard, obviously about the pineal gland, right? That third eye, so on and so forth. When it oscillates, it actually gives a gas that actually bursts in the brain from the crystals. The crystals start to oscillate, they heat up, and then when they burst, it gives a crystal gas in the a gas aspect in the mind. So when that gas formulates in the brain, it actually enlightens that pineal gland. This is what the reference of the Christ, the Christ, the crossing, Jesus on the cross, and all this religious stuff comes from actually that physical thing that happens to a person from the point of enlightenment, right? So when it comes to that enlightenment, and then when that oscillation happens, right, that energy in itself is such an intense energy that it makes a person open up certain things within themselves. Now we have binary coding. If you ever heard of binary, we have binary coding within our blood. This is also in relations to our stem cells, the mother cells that come from our parents and our mother's cells and our dad's cells. So when these energies inside of us, there are binary code frequencies that actually open up because of this oscillation as well. So now you may start to, because of your enlightenment, there may be a cell inside of you, right, that has opened up from a great great grandfather. You may get an idea that pops in your mind or a thought, and you're like, oh, I wonder if this is this, or oh, this came into my mind about this thing when I read this, or you get these ideas, these thoughts, and things of that nature, and you're like, I don't know where that came from, but a lot of times it's because you're enlightening yourself. Once you start to enlighten yourself, you're bringing on the remembrance of this coding to actually open up and remind you of other things of the past that are actually inside of you from your ancestors. This is what we call people call it the Akashic records or whatever the case may be. But literally, it is binary coding within us, the frequency coding that is opened up by the heated gas aspect that overcomes us with the enlightenment.
So you see how you see how simple you put that. So
Yes.
This is what I got out of what you just said. This is what you just said to me. As we travel through our ancestors, it's kind of like the soul train line. When we get to the end of the line, we get back in the line and start off. It starts all over again.
Say that. Yes. Very good. Very good analogy.
That's what I got. You just said. That's what I saw, the soul train line. And, our grandmothers might be in the back of the soul train line. We may be in the middle. Then when she's at the end, we may be at the front. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. It's crossing. Yep.
Yeah. So, so when you say stuff, or when I listen to people talk, they be painting pictures for me.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
Yeah, when the pictures start coming out looking stupid, I'd be like, yeah, okay. So our communications with each other, how with each other, we realize what we have to do that. And I think communicating with each other, that reminds me of ants. If you ever look at ants come by, every ant touches each other's antennas and they keep moving. Is that kind of a picture you're painting?
Yes.
Because I made that idea one time, and somebody didn't get it, and they didn't get. simplicity is the best for me. Just ants walking by each other, tapping antennas, every single one. That means that I'm learning from everybody that you've learned from, and you're learning from everybody that I've learned from. How come it's how, I mean, stuff as simple as that. How are we as grown people? And in this case, I'm saying grown is 5 years old. How is it that we don't get this? And we see it. We see
Mhm.
it. This is something that doesn't have to be proven to us. We see it. How come we don't take ideas like that or phenomena in real life, in natural life, what happens? How come we don't take that phenomena and use it again, or use it on ourselves or for our benefit?
Hmm. Because people don't really think of that analogy a lot of times, brother, to be quite honest. They're not even thinking about how you can just pick up energies, you can take that on, it can weigh you down. They don't think about these things. So they're just going through, flying through because they're blind. Most of the time, people have these blinders on. This is why they're so brainwashed. They're not even aware of like the true reality that's going on around them. So for them to even be able to take a context and use that to apply it to their life, it's like, I don't even get that context. I don't know what you're talking about. They can hear you explain these things a lot of times and they still will perceive it, and then their mind will rewrite on them because you know what happens a lot of times, brother, because your insides are working against you, and a lot of people don't even understand that. It comes from the things that you're eating. When you're taking in a lot of things that are fighting against your body and actually causing metabolic changes in the cells or the structuring in your body, these things go against you. So it's hard for your mind to think because when you're taking in certain things that actually go against your body and harm your body, they start to diminish the amino acids in your mind. So now when you're eating these things, you're supposed to be thinking with a certain level of intelligence. When you don't have your amino acids working or functioning correctly, the neurons in your brain can't function correctly. There's a certain electrons and things that are tied to those things that help your brain function at the right prospect. And when you're eating incorrectly, a lot of times people don't even realize they're literally like messing themselves up mentally and spiritually because it causes so many dysfunctions in the consonance dissonance, which causes a person to think incorrectly. They're viewing things incorrectly. They're looking at situations or things, they're arguing with their mate or whatever the case may be behind something they don't really even understand. They'll be like, what was we arguing about? Oh, I don't know. It be ignorant, stupid stuff because why? Their dissonance is off. A person can say something to them and it's like, okay, now the person has an attitude, but wait a minute, I just said this. Well, you said such and such. They thought they said this, or they thought they meant this when they said this, when they only meant this. And all of that is the dissonance, the way that a person thinks when it comes to the way they control, the way they're perceiving things. And the perception is off because why? The neurons are not working correctly. So your electrodes are not making the things spark in your brain at the proper functioning capacity. So now you're lacking. It's like having a short in the cord. You know how like you go to plug something in and it's got that little short. Sometimes it's gonna work. You might electrocute yourself. You don't know what's gonna happen because it's not working the correct way. The current is off. That there's a flow or dysfunction in that current. So now it's not flowing at the proper speed or the proper current that it should because now there's some type of break. And that's what happens with the chemicals we take in. The GMO foods that they have, almost everything is GMO. The meats that they have out, not only are a lot of the meats GMO, but not only that, you're bringing in to your body the adrenochrome, which is another chemical that affects the brain. It actually works against the brain because it is a chemical that is a heightened intensity from the animal right before it's slaughtered. It's at its fear, knowing it's going to die. So now that adrenochrome is at the highest level, and now it's in the meat. So now the person eats that meat, and then they're taking in that actual chemical. They can cook it all day long. That's a chemical that will not dissipate. And when you put it in your body, you're taking that in. So now what it does is it starts to attack certain things in your body. It's going to attack a joint. It may attack your kidney. It may attack your liver, your heart. It may attack your blood. It may attack your intestine. It may attack your brain itself. So now you're going to have all these things working against you physically At the same time, while it's working against your physical body, it's working against your mental capacity. Therefore, since you're having these mental things thrown off, you are not connected to your spiritual capacity. So now you have all three things in a misfunction, all behind not eating properly, pulling in all these chemicals, not detoxing yourself, not meditating properly, being able to cleanse yourself, taking in the sun, sunbathing, so that the sun will be able to regenerate you or replenish your body with the proper nutrients. If you stand barefooted in the grass or the dirt for at least 5 to 10 minutes in a simple meditation of sunbathing, your body, the earth actually will remove all type of ions that are negative to your body. It will remove EMFs from your body. It will remove negative frequencies from your body, and then it will actually replenish your body through the soles of your foot. When you're standing on the surface, it actually pulls out the bad things and it replenishes the good things from the earth that is natural to you because we are earth people. So we have to make sure that we're doing the proper thing to keep ourselves clean. We need to meditate. You can't just not meditate. You can't just not do some sunbathing. You can't just not keep your body active so that you're actually moving things out as you detoxing and doing these things to help yourself stay replenished and refurbished with pure natural life, you know?
So what you're basically saying is the food that we intake messes us up.
A lot of it does, yes, brother. A lot of it, because mostly everything now is GMO. It's cloned and GMO food. If you're not going to a farm or buying natural foods, mostly everything is like cloned, including the meats. They've been using cloned meat for like at least 4 years now, at a minimum, in
So
most stores.
so basically what you're saying is no more gristle, scrapple, or lard.
Exactly.
That was a joke. Was it
But you're right. You said grits. I thought maybe I didn't hear what you said. I'm sorry.
gristle? On the meat.
Oh, the gristle.
Oh,
Yes.
got that clear stuff that look like cartilage. They call it gristle.
Yes.
Scrapple. All the scrap from the animal that they cut up, and then they just make it into a loaf.
Bologna, sausage, and yeah,
And lard. That fat, the
fat.
fat come from animals.
Ugh, yes. The same. What's crazy is when you look at that stuff, right? You look at some fat and stuff, and you're looking like, oh yeah, so good. I'm gonna eat it, huh? That's just the same thing you're putting inside your body. Why would you even want to put it in your body? It looks so disgusting. You could just look at it and know it's nasty. Not to discourage anybody that loves to eat it, but I'm just saying you have to really think about these things. We're taught the things that hurt us, right? We're taught that, oh, you gotta eat this meat. Ooh, meat is good. Ooh, look at this juicy steak. They teach us everything that we are taught. We have to think with our common sense, with our spirit, nature, mind, and say, well, dang, is this really good for me? Is it good to be eating flesh animal? Let me see, a cow and a this and these things they have a face like I do. They have eyes, they have a nose, they have a mouth and ears. They're not the same, but they're the same species almost because wait, they're animal. We're animal human. We're kind of. I mean, come on, it's flesh. I mean, we have to just think with our common sense. I'm going to bite into this flesh, and it's so great. And when you bite it, I used to eat meat. When you bite it, I can just remember the texture. It make you think you're eating human flesh.
Yeah.
Literally,
Yeah.
it's just even the smell. Like I could go in someone's apartment or something, right? And in the hallway, say someone's cooking, I can tell immediately they're cooking beef, and I can tell if they're cooking pork. Both of them disgusting. The pork is the worst though, but you can smell it. And what's crazy is when I used to eat it, I used to think like when I was cooking it, oh, I can smell this food, it's smelling good. Man, now when I smell it, it turns my stomach. It's so disgusting, just the smell of it. And I don't know if it's mental because I know what it does to the body, and I know all the things that are in it, all the different antigens that are horrible to your body, that tear up your intestines, that put parasites in your blood. you know, you're walking around with these things all inside of your body. Then you're mean and you're aggressive and this and that, not even realizing you've taken on different entities in your body, literally, by eating some of these meats and things. A lot of times, these meats, I've done studies on this stuff. The meats, they'll take these meats and they rotten meat. They put this stuff in them to make them red. They dye them. And then they'll package them right up, put them right on the shelf, and somebody think it's fresh meat because it's so red. That's why they look so red.
Right. Right.
It's
Yeah.
horrible. It's horrible. They're killing us.
Yeah, but doesn't it at some point, because the coolest thing I ever saw was a baby come out the womb 5 minutes later, it was climbing up its mother's torso to get that breast milk.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's intelligence.
Yes.
Just coming out the womb, where the food at, cuz? Where the food at? And they find it.
They smell it, brother. They know they mom and they smell that milk. They them babies know immediately.
But my point is this: immediately, they're geniuses, and
Oh
then
yeah.
once we have them for a day, we immediately start to dumb them down, giving them that Similac, putting them in that TV vibe. You know how TV, if you're not looking at the TV, if you're looking at the wall puts pictures on there. We put
Mm,
the baby in there with that, and the baby just immediately start getting intact.
mm.
What is it going to take?
They start before that, brother. Believe it or not. Let's go back. I'm gonna be honest with you. This is what I say. They start in the womb first off. When the mom gets pregnant, they immediately put them on. You need prenatal vitamins. First off, why do I need these prenatal vitamins? My mom, centuries and centuries before these moms been giving birth to the best and healthiest kids, never had a prenatal vitamin a day in their life. Why are you telling me I need a prenatal vitamin if I'm eating correctly? So that's the first mistake. The second mistake is that allowing these people to do ultrasounds to you on your child. Anybody that's pregnant or you know a person is pregnant, please talk to them about this. I'm going to give you a couple of few things real quick. The ultrasound, you have to think the water, the baby is in water, right? And when you think about water, absorbs light, sound, and frequency. When they're putting that ultrasound through across the belly, just running it all across, they just be roaming it and running it. What it's doing is that wave, that ultrasound is actually a wave. It's an ultra ray. So that ray of light is actually going through and across that baby in that water continuously every time you get an ultrasound, which is not good. Just know that it's electromagnetic energy. This is why it's able to pick up from the amniotic fluid and be able to take the picture of the baby. So I don't suggest that if you need to because there's something going on, of course. But just I want to see where my baby is and all that. Don't no doc, I don't need an ultrasound. If they want to check it because it's unhealthy, let's just do something quick and be done. Try not to get the ultrasounds or have them. Another thing, if you can't afford it, it's that cheap, but look into a doula in your area. The doula will help you with a natural childbirth. Some of them actually have some chairs. I had a chair. I don't have it now, but there are chairs that they will help you to give childbirth. If you can possibly, when you're at the hospital, the bed sometimes moves at the bottom. When they move and they're telling you to lay back, you tell them, no, I want to stand up. They're going to say, no, 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 you don't need to. Yes, I do. I do not want my child to struggle. The first struggle is coming into this world by climbing their way out of the womb, struggling in. Why they have a person laying on the back, knowing the baby is trying to come down, makes no common sense. You have to tell these people, listen, I know what I'm doing, and I want make sure y'all get ready to catch my baby. Put something down here, do something. If you're at a hospital and you can't afford to get you a doula. So what you're going to do is stand up and let that baby, you're going to squat and allow that baby to come in the way it's supposed to with the natural gravity that the earth is giving it. So that's another thing. And when you have your baby, do not let them seminate your cord. That baby, there's something called a lotus birth. Look it up. This is the best way for your child to have its most perfect functioning capacity when it comes to the mind. They start to kill us from the death of our brains and our minds and everything from birth. When they cut the cord off with that umbilical cord, it starts to pump and it keeps pumping. If they don't cut it off, it will stay like that for about probably about 2 or 3 hours after the birth. It'll start to dry up. After that, it's past all of the stem cells. This is why they cut off the sac and they collect it because they sell the stem cells. They use your stem cells for these companies for makeup and for these jabs, all these different things. So what they do is they collect it and they get money from these hospitals. So you let them know, I don't want you to take my baby's cord off. They're going to tell you, oh, we have to. It's government. Oh, it's a standard. They will argue you down to listen. You tell them, listen, this is part of my body and I'm taking it with me and I don't want to cut off my baby, period. You'll get you a nice little igloo bag, those little lunch bags. You're gonna pack it with some of those little icy things or whatever the case may be. You put you a bunch of herbs in there. You wrap that placenta and you put it right in there in that car seat and everywhere with that baby till it fall off. It's gonna fall off just like it will when they cut the umbilical cord. Do not let these babies cut that. Let them cut this off the baby because there is light code information, binary coding, and stem cells that actually pumps from that placenta into that baby long after it's out of you. So make sure you guys are trying to. That's just something I want to mention when it comes to, when you brought that up, brother. So I don't want to talk too much about that, but that is very important. So guys, you got to really make sure you are taking care of your baby from the womb and out, and try not to do any of those the pretend milks like the pet milk, the whatever the Similac and all that. You have to breastfeed your baby. I mean, even if you don't feel comfortable breastfeeding, pump and give it to the baby in the bottle. Do not give your baby this stuff that has all these steroids in it. It's artificial. It has cow's milk in it. You're giving your newborn baby milk that is made for a baby calf. I mean, think about this stuff, guys. That's all I'm going to say on that part.
We're at the top of the hour. And Sister Soul, listen, you have to come back. You have to be a regular.
Oh, I will definitely come back, brothers, for sure.
Well, cool. Well, Sister Soul information is at the top of the chat. Go check her out. Go check out what she does on her radio program. She's on the main radio station, or you can check her out at Sister Soul, and you can check her out on the main radio station in the show Talk About It, Sundays and Wednesday, 6 p.m.
I appreciate that, brother. Yes, definitely tune in. I love the provide information, and if anyone has questions, definitely you can email me. I'll go over it, talk about it on my show. A lot of times people send me information they want me to talk about because it's something they're inquired about. That's fine as well. I accept that. So yeah, I appreciate you having me up, brother. I'll definitely come back again. It was an enjoyable conversation. I love pleasant conversations.
Yes, ma'am. So we'll chat soon, okay?
Definitely. You have a great night. Good night to the chat, to everyone. I didn't see the chat, but thank you guys for coming over and enjoying this conversation with us, and have a good night.
Good night. Ladies and germs, did I do a good job? So get over and check that sister out. Check out the information she has to give. And these are and we were saying in the chat as this was going along, shouldn't we be delivering our own babies now? Shouldn't we have doulas as available as we have blunts? Seriously, shouldn't every woman? See, that's one of the things. That's what I'm saying. African Americans, you're a slave. Shouldn't you be delivering your babies? Period. We don't even think about that. Shouldn't we be delivering our own babies? How many of their babies do you deliver? I know somebody, I'm a nurse and I deliver them all the time. Yeah, but you know what I mean. So check out some of the things we have to be responsible for, because we can't keep saying somebody's doing something to us and we helping them. We look foolish. So think about those things. Check the sister out, support her, and we'll see you guys later on in the week. Peace.